Hi, welcome to Slyville. This is a game that is hitting retail stores right away, so it's going to be a game that it's going to be available soon at our gaming shops. So what's all about? Medieval cities are well known to have lots of pious monks, humble scholars and trustworthy merchants. Now, we know that that's not the true, because all of these medieval cities are also full of mischievous and dishonest people who are trying to make the best deals and get the most money out of it. In this story, you take the role of one of these guys, representing one of the major guilds of the game, trying to get wealth and influence points for your guild, and on the way, while doing so, trying to backstab and outsmart your opponents. So we have 5 guilds in the game. They're represented with different boards and colors. Each player takes the role of one of those personas from one of those guilds. So the guilds are color coded. We have the blue guild, which is represented by the Brotherhood of R. Then we have the red guild, which is here, and it's represented by the Red Ruffians gang. We have the Royal Merchants Guild. It couldn't be anything else than the yellow, due to the color of the gold, obviously. We have the University of Slyville, the green one over here, and last but not least, the Order of St. Midas with the purple. So, this is a fun game of backstabbing, outsmarting your opponents, negotiating and managing resources. Yes, you have to manage your resources in a very clever way, because this is as important as trying to use your best bluffing skills and try to outsmart your opponents with your own strategy. So you'll try to predict what goods your adversaries might need, do the best deals, get the most money and most influence points to win the game. Obviously, the goal of the game is to be the first person to acquire at least 100 influence points, and when one of the players manages to get more than 100 influence points during a round, then we play this round till it's over, and the player with the most influence points, essentially victory points, wins the game. So let's see what we have in front of us. Let's familiarize ourselves with the game board and the game components. This is a very fun and enjoyable and clever game. So let's see what we have in front of us. So you see that we have 4 corners for the 5 corners for the 5 guilds of Slyville, as we discussed. Each of those guilds comes with their own color, their own specific deal tiles. The deal tiles have 2 different sides, the gray or silver and the red one. Essentially, the red one is the big deal. It requires more items and gives more resource influence points, and the gray one requires less items usually and gives less influence points. So this varies from something like 20 to 40 depending on the tile. There is a variety of tiles and each of those is color coded. Again, each pile of tiles comes with their own guild, so the whole thing is balanced. Each player takes one of the guild boards. Here is the University of Slyville, our favorite color, green. When you start the game, you take one resource of the guild. These are the resources also color coded and associated. This is a book. It's too far away, but it looks really nice, all the custom tokens. So just to mention here, by the way, that this is a prototype, so what you see in front of you will be much more enhanced in the final production copy. This is a prototype which is close to the final view, at least, and the aesthetics of the game, but all the materials are prototype materials. So coming back to what I was saying, each player takes one of these guild boards with a graphic representation of their character, their respective deck of 7 cards. They have the color of the guild at the back. Each player gets the same 7 cards. You start with 1 resource from your guild plus 1 resource from the location where you start, in which district you start your position. So the green player starts here, which is the yellow district, so he acquires 1 more resource, which is a yellow one. The slots are 10, meaning that you have only 10 spots to carry the various resources that you need to make the deals around the game to acquire those contracts. But when you have more than 10 items, you can of course discard down to 10 and throw away what you don't need and keep only what you need. but you need to plan very carefully. So what else do you see? In the center of the game board, it is a castle which has the Prince's Decrees, which is a deck of cards with this pack, and they all have essentially, we're going to come back again to those. They neglect the effect of specific type of cards from the action deck of the players, and this is very important, and I'm going to come back to this one because we always start with one royal decree from the prince. As I mentioned, each area has their own tokens, so we have alcohol or bottles, whatever, in the blue district, books in the green, treasure chests in the yellow, some relics in the purple, and some weapons in the red. Each player also gets one of these tokens, which is one of the 5 resources of the game, hidden. So I got green. I can only use this once per game to help me acquire a contract without my enemies knowing what I have. But when I flip it and use it, then I discard it. So that rounds up everything that you see in front of you. So let's see how we start the game. We put everything where it corresponds, plus in each of the districts you get the tiles with the contracts, the area where you play the cards. Not only you, everyone can play cards on your guild. And then you have the pool where it is generating each round a resource. So here, for example, we have on this area below the tiles 1 bottle. If no one takes the resources from this space, on the next round we're going to get another bottle, and this can be accumulative, so you can have more resources if no one comes there, until obviously it's too much and everyone's going to want to go there to grasp all of this wealth. So coming back to the setup, we put all these districts. This is a modular board, so we can have the purple next to the green next time or whatever, it doesn't matter. And this is in the center. Each plays in reverse order, starting from the starting player, which I'm going to come back and say who the starting player is, puts their henchman in one of those takeover spots. There are 5 again on top of each guild. And then what you do is you decide who is the starting player, who takes this royal token to indicate that they are the starting player. They have the favor of the prince, and they decide under which district they're going to put this token to indicate that this is where we're going to start when we finish the card action play, to start resolving the pile and see what happens. This is actually called, I think it's called the first district marker. Yeah. So let's say I'm the starting player, and if there is a debate who is going to start, the rulebook says whoever grabs the token first. So let's say I was the blue and I got it first, or I'm the slyest, whatever. So what's going to happen is we have some district phases in this game. So first of all, we start by the starting phase. In the starting phase, if a player has, if there is a player's henchman token in a district, the player gets 1 extra good. So if, let's say, for this fantastic scenario, no one was kicked out, everyone is going to get 1 additional resource of the district which they're sitting on. Let me zoom in a bit so you can see what I mean. So for example, I am here, I'm the purple player, I'm sitting on this takeover spot, and if at the starting phase I still am here, or for some reason I'm somewhere else, it doesn't matter, I'm going to get 1 resource from the bank, from the pool, not from here, from the color of the district I'm sitting in. So if I had managed to kick this guy out and I was here, I was going to get obviously 1 book. So whoever is in position is going to get 1 more resource on the player board and keep it there as long as they have space to save it. So the prince favor starts a round. So I'm the prince favorite, so I have this token, so I'm going to start the round. For the first round, I'm going to decide where to put this. It could be my district or another player's, it doesn't matter. What that means is that this is where we're going to start from. So we take the player who has the favorite token takes the decree cards, which are sitting in the middle of the table, takes a look on the first one secretly without revealing it to the next player. This means that there are going to be no deals at this district where this card is played. So I'm deciding where around the table I'm going to play face down this card. Let's say I'm going to mess up the green district plans and I'm placing it here. Now at this point everyone is starting to double guessing what this guy has done and what are their plans for there. So if you had interest or strategy to go and play here for this round, you're going to be very cautious, trying to understand what they're doing, or maybe fear to play more cards or whatever. But anyway, just positioning one of the cards here without the people knowing any information on what it is, meaning what cards are going to be cancelled from the action cards if they're played here. That means that immediately there's a lot of suspicion and a lot of double thinking what you're going to do. So again, this starts from the prince favorite, who is going to decide wherever they want to put their first royal decree card. We're going to come back to these cards after we explain the action cards and say what they do, because essentially they cancel some of the action cards. So after that we start with the action phase. The prince favorites again chooses one of their cards from their hand. You have a deck of cards. Let's say, I'm going to zoom out again. Let's say I'm the blue player and these are my cards. I'm going to pick them up in my hand, secretly decide which one I want to play. So I take one of my cards. I have all of the deck in my hands and in my plans at the beginning. So I decide which card I want to play. I take it and I play it face down on one of the spots. So let's say I want to play it here, for example. Then the green player is going to do the same. They're going to decide to play one card. They can put it here, let's say on top of the royal decree card. The yellow player can play on top of another player. There is no limit to the number of cards a district can hold. And of course, when the turn comes around, let's say I'm playing here, the red player is playing here, and then again the blue comes again. So remember, I played my first card here on the yellow district, so let's say I can play another one here. So each district can have any number of cards and you can play twice or 3 times a card here, it doesn't matter, there's no limit. So this goes around the table until each player has played 4 cards in a 3 or 4 player game, or 3 cards in a 5 player game. When everyone has done so, there are going to be different piles of cards on each of these spots. Then we move to the resolution phase. We reveal our cards and start checking the different districts. After all players have played all their action cards, we proceed to resolving the card's effects. We start with the district currently marked with the first district marker. So we're going to start with this district, and this is also important. We reveal all of the cards we have here. Now just put 2, but imagine you're going to have a lot of cards here, and we're going to start to resolving them. After we'll resolve this district, we're going to move clockwise to the next one, then to the next one, to the next one, and then to the last one. So all of the districts are going to be resolved. And then, after this phase is done, we're going to do the cleanup phase, which essentially checking if anyone has gathered more than 100 influence points and wins the game. If not, we're going to move to another round. All of these are going to take another item. If someone has taken this before, it's going to be the first one. If no one has taken them from previous rounds, you're going to have accumulation of goods around these districts. And then the prince's favorite token goes to the next player clockwise. And the marker again moves clockwise. So this is going to be repeated a number of rounds till some players or one player manages to get at least 100 influence points. If no one has done that, we're going to continue playing. So all the juice of the game and all the beauty comes from the resolution of the different action cards. So now I need to take all of the action cards from one deck, zoom in, and show you what they do. Because now everything is going to start making sense. So let me show you the cards and what they do. We have different type of cards. Let's group them. We have the acquisition cards, which have some gold, pouches of gold. These have, first of all the action cards. Again, this is a green player. Show the green color in a border and the icon of the character, so it's very easy to differentiate between different players, even if it's face down or face up. Excellent work here. So all of these cards are essentially the same, but with a different value. This one gives 2 purchase coins, 3 purchase coins, and 4 purchase coins. Remember, a player may have played all 3 of them cards on a specific spot. So this will give you the ability to get all of the gathered, or one, depending on the stage, resources from a location if you have the most coins listed here. So if I have 2 and no one else has anything, I'm gonna get them. If I have 3 and someone else has 2, again, I'm gonna get them. So this has to do specifically with how much coin you have, which is at the bottom of the card. The number on the shield is the initiative, and it's the order at which the cards are played and resolved. Coming back to that, let's see the different cards. So the first card that is going to be resolved from a deck, if you have a royal decree, it's going to be the royal decree, which means that they're going to cancel this specific type of card. So we're not going to have any deals for this, even if you have planned to do so. This makes sense when you understand all of the action cards, so I'm going to bypass this cancelling effect for the moment and focus on the rest of the cards. So after that, we go to initiative number 1, which is the sabotage. This is this card, which has someone cutting the leg from one of the stools. Very nice and funny, humoristic art. So you can do one of the 2 things with the sabotage card. You can either pick up one of the cards from the deck of the district. This applies only to the district that this was played, right? So you can decide to take one of the action cards, any one action card, and ignore its effect. So you cancel one card. So you can say that you cancel, for example, the big deal cards or the small deal cards or an acquisition card, etc. So this can really mess up with the plans of the other players. Another thing you can do, if you don't want to do the cancel an action card, is you can essentially take the henchman from one location, from the location actually where this is played, so this needs to be here, and you can kick this henchman back to the board of the blue player. So essentially you mess them up for the next turn because they're not going to collect one additional resource from the location that they were sitting, in this case the green. So as you can understand, this messes up a lot of the plans of the player by different ways. So this is a really nasty card to play, and it's going to be resolved always first, with the exception of the royal decree card, which goes even before that. Now, if someone has played this card, which is initiative number 2, essentially is a takeover card. You can see that it has a bump icon, meaning you can take your henchman, move it here, and potentially bump another player. So let's say I was a green player, let's do it right. I've played this card, I'm coming here, I'm bumping this player. If no one was there, I'm going to locate myself here. If someone else was there, I'm going to bump them and again return them to the player board of the player. Essentially making them unavailable to take, making them, forbidding them to take this resource at the start of their turn and taking it for yourself, which is a great action card to play. Next, let's put it back, is the small deal and the big deal card. Now, for this to occur, you need to have this goes first, the big deal, and this goes second because of the different initiative, has 4, the small deal. For this to occur, you need to have the respective icons, resources that the deal is asking. Remember, the red one is the big deal and the gray one is the small deal. So if you want to have, if you have planned actually to give up 2 treasures, as you can see here, you need to have planned to play the small deal card because this enables you to perform the small deal. If you have in your card, in your player board, 2 purple items and 1 red, which is the big deal, which is actually like that, the way you see your screen, you need to have scheduled to play the big deal card. Again, if 2 players have played the big deal, the tie is going to be broken by the favorite of the prince, which is this guy. If he is involved, obviously he's going to do it in his favor, but this is where the negotiation comes, the promising, etc, etc. It's very, very nice and funny. What they're going to do is they're going to decide the order, because if both players have played the big deal, you can say that the red player plays first and then the purple player, meaning that the red player can go ahead and do the big deal for this one, and then you reveal the next tile, and if the blue player who was kicked and in second position by the favorite of the prince, if they have those resources, 2 chests and 1 bottle in this location, because they have played the big deal, they're going to be able to give them up and proceed accordingly. If not, they're just going to do nothing and mess their plans. So coming back, big deal, and then we have and small deal, and then we have the acquisition cards. The acquisition cards work very simple. If a lot of players have played cards, you add the value, so 4 plus 3, I have 7, and if another player had, let's say 2, the green player wins, has a higher beating and wins all the resources from this region. Everything takes place in this specific region, because when all of the cards are resolved, we move to the next one, which is the yellow, the purple, the red, and then we go to the blue. Starting, obviously, I mean the turn is random, starting from this token right here. So, as you can imagine, this is very, very nasty, because all the time you're going to be messing each opponent's plans. So you need to be very careful on how you try to outsmart your opponents, decide when is the best time, because this is open information, and also what they have on their player board is open information, so you can see what they're trying to collect. If they're going to, you think at least, they're going to get this tile or that tile, depending on the resources they're gathering, and trying to mess up with their plans and have fun by doing so. So now it's easier to explain what the royal decree cards do. Essentially, most of them are cancelling cards. So for all the action cards are the respective cancel royal decree cards, and this is important again because the person who knows what this royal decree card is the prince's favor, which changes around the table each turn, and they're going to play it somewhere to mess up with the other player's plans, and this is also very nice. So if this is played first, it cancels if anyone has played the sabotage card, so you can be more safe. If this is played, it cancels the acquisition cards. If this is played, it cancels the small deal. This cancels the big deal. This cancels the takeover. This cancels both the big deal and the small deal. And this one cancels, this reduces the amount of acquisition cards to the value of 1 regardless of what they state on them. So, very, very clever play of these specific royal cards by the prince's favor on the different regions of the guilds can really make a difference depending on the timing. So this goes around the table for various rounds until, as we mentioned before, one player has managed to gather at least 100 influence points, victory points, each time moving the tokens in a clockwise manner. So, bottom line, the rules are very simple as you have imagined. I practically made how to play run through to explain most of them to you, so you know exactly everything now. What is the most important and funny thing about the game is the negotiation that goes together with all the gameplay. The backstabbing, you can promise someone to do something if they have the prince's favor and then return the favor, or maybe not, on the next turn, so you can even fool them or they can fool you. A lot of trying to outsmart and outguess what the other players will be doing in the different neighborhoods, and trying to think smarter than them and position yourself so that you steal the valuable resources from them or the best deals. All of it has a real well blending together, so everything comes really nice. Very fun game, lasts around 45 to 60 minutes, even with 5 players. You need 3 to 5 players to play it. Has real good flow, nice flow, and doesn't have any downtime at all. I really like how you get into each other players' nerves, trying to mess with them, trying to outsmart them, trying to make them earn less or bump them around or fool them to not take the correct contract, etc. If you don't like player interaction, you're not going to like it, but if you do like player interaction, you're going to love it. This is a brand new game from Hexy Studios, which is called Slyville. Very, very fun, nice humoristic art, even the cover box is great, and I think really offers a lot of fun gameplay and nice things packed. So, hope you enjoyed this video. If you like it, please subscribe, share the video, show your love or spread it, and see you around on the next one. This is Slyville.